So welcome back students, this is the third chapter, elections and representatives, and we are completing the series of NCERT Indian Polity conducted for foundation batch Adarshila conducted by Center for Ambition. So this is the third chapter which we are beginning with. In the previous videos I have discussed about fundamental rights. I have also discussed about DPSPs, I have discussed about fundamental duties. So we have seen all the rights that we have seen the comparison between fundamental rights and DPSPs, we have seen the duties which are given to the citizens and reasonable restrictions that are on fundamental rights, the exceptions. So I think we are very much clear with our part 3, part 4 and part 4a, which talks about fundamental right, DPSPs and fundamental duties. So in this chapter, chapter 3 of NCERT, we are beginning with the elections and representatives. So when we start our NCERT, we see that the NCERT begins with asking two questions. The first question is that can we have democracy without holding elections, and the second question is that can we hold elections without having democracy. So these are two basic questions that are asked by NCERT. First is can we have democracy without holding elections, and the second is can we hold elections without having democracy. So the first question that can we have democracy without holding elections talks about the necessity of having representatives in such a large country. Okay, such a large country, what do I mean by such a large country? As India, it means that our India has a great population, a population in lakhs and crores. So it is not possible for all the citizens of India to gather in one place and to directly participate in the day-to-day decision making of the government. It is not possible for all the citizens of India to directly participate in the day-to-day decision making of the government, running of the government and administering the government. So what does the people do? We elect our representatives who on our behalf, on the behalf of the people, on the citizens of the country, they make laws, they enact laws, they formulate policies. So the elected representatives by the citizens sit in the parliament, sit in the state legislature, and they make laws on behalf of the citizens of the country. Okay. Now when I think of India as a democratic one, when I think as India as a democratic one, I automatically connect it with the elections of the country. Like if you say that India is a democratic country, I automatically think of the last elections that were held or the last political party that won the elections. Okay, so the election is the most visible symbol of democracy that has now emerged or is a prevalent form of democracy. Okay. The second question which is asked here, that can we hold elections without democracy? So it reminds us of the fact that not all elections are democratic. You see, there are some non-democratic countries in the world which are very keen to present themselves as democratic. So what they do, they also hold elections. Okay, they hold elections, but the elections are held in such a way that their rule is not disturbed. Okay, their rule will not be hampered. Okay, so there are some non-democratic countries which also hold elections. Now the question comes, are these elections free and fair? Are these elections give representation of the citizens of the country? Are these elections give a fair representation of the citizens? So here comes the work of Constitution. What does Constitution do? Constitution lays down some basic rules for a democratic country to ensure that there is free and fair elections. Okay, what do we have in India to check free and fair elections? the constitution has given us a constitutional body which is independent in itself, which is Election Commission of India. About it we'll read further, take in detail as we proceed in the chapter. So we have Election Commission of India, which makes sure that the elections in the country is free and fair, and we all get a fair representation in the country. So when I talk about democracy, I see two kind of democracy. The first is direct democracy. The first is direct democracy and the second is indirect democracy. In direct democracy, I see that we have a limited population and in which all the citizens come together and are directly involved in the day-to-day decision making of the government. Okay, for example, when we see city-states of Greece, Athens and Sparta, we see that there was direct democracy which was prevalent in the ancient times. Okay. In today's scenario, we can say that Gram Sabhas in the local government is the kind of direct democracy that we see. So citizens directly participate in day-to-day decision making and the running of the government. For example, the ancient city states of Greece. Okay, and in today's time, we can see the Gram Sabha of the local government is also an example of direct democracy. In indirect democracy, which is in India, what does indirect democracy says? The citizens elect representatives. So the representatives are elected by citizens which on behalf of the citizens formulate policies, make decisions and run the government, administer the country. These representatives take decisions and govern the country on behalf of the people. What are the key points? That citizens, if we see in indirect elections, we see that citizens have a limited role in taking the government decisions. So what is the bare role of citizens? They are electing the representatives, and the representatives on their behalf are sitting in the parliaments, are sitting in the state legislature and making decisions on their behalf. So citizens have a limited role which is electing the representatives. They are not actively involved in the policy making, but they are indirectly involved by the representatives they have elected in the parliament or state legislatures. Citizens participate mainly through electing their representatives. So as the representatives make laws on behalf of the citizens, so they are only participating through their representatives, and they are not directly participating in the decisions making of the democracy. So when I was telling you about the non-democratic country, when I was saying that some non-democratic country which are very keen to present themselves as democratic one, they also hold elections. So are these elections that they hold are free and fair as we have in India, or do the citizens get a fair representation in the government? So the answer comes from the constitution. As I said, constitution lays down some basic rules regarding elections and detailed procedures are provided through laws that are passed by legislatures. Okay, the constitution asks some question. The basic rules include who is eligible to vote, okay, who is eligible to contest elections, who supervises the elections, how do voters choose the representatives, and how are votes counted and representatives declared elected. So these are the basic questions that we can see which are answered in the constitution. So our constitution answers these kind of question which makes the rules, the basic rules for conducting an elections. So when I see the first three questions, which is who is eligible to vote and who is eligible to contest elections, who supervises the election, so it talks about the free and fair elections. Okay. And the second questions, the two other questions, which is how do voters choose their representatives and how are votes counted and representatives are declared elected, then we see that these two talks about fair representation. Moving on to the election systems in India. So a constitutional body has given us, in India we have an election commission of India, which is an independent body, a constitutional body which supervises the election procedures and make sure that free and fair elections are there. Okay, so an election system is not just about voting and campaigns, it includes a lot of other things also. It includes the rules, the methods, and what authority is there to for conducting elections. Okay, so authority responsible for conducting elections, the rules and the methods are also important when we see an election system. So election system are of different kinds, and many countries have adopted different kinds of election systems, and whatever the election system is adopted, the outcome varies, outcome changes. Okay, so different countries may adopt different methods of voting and counting votes, which means different kind of election system which influences the outcome of the elections. In India, we see that we have two kind of election system. The first is FPTP, which is first past the post, and the second is proportional representation. Okay, the election system can change the outcome of election even when the same number of votes cast. So there is difference between the rules of the systems that we are adopting. Okay, so when we see in the country that there are many election systems, we can see that there can be some challenges. For example, that there might be some election system which favor large political parties, help smaller parties or independent candidates, okay, favor majority communities and protect minority representation. So these could be some election systems which are prevalent in the world, which might favor the large political parties. But what should be the ideal thing? What should be an ideal election system? So while choosing an election system, every democracy should consider a fair representation, inclusion of minorities, political stability and democratic fairness. So these are the points which are to be made sure when we choose an election system in our country. So coming on to the first past the post system, I'll come on to this slide in a bit. First, I'll explain you what is FPTP system. In this system, the candidates who secures more votes than the other candidate is declared elected. It is very simple. See, in FPTP, what do? We divide the country in many constituencies. Okay, and then whoever candidate who gets the highest number of votes gets elected. Okay, so we elect a candidate in the FPTP system. What happens? Suppose if there is a racetrack and there is a post here, there is a ribbon here, and the rules are that whoever gets to the post first will be declared as winner. So it is very simple, very basic in nature, that whoever gets the highest votes will be declared elected. Okay. So for example, that we have 4 candidates here and we have 10 votes. So we see that candidate A received 4 votes, candidate B received 3 votes, candidate C received 2 votes and candidate D received 1 vote. So we see here that as candidate A got 4 votes, so he is clearly the winner because he got the highest number of votes amongst the other candidates we see here. So in FPTP system, there is no concept of majority votes, which means that there is no concept of getting 50% plus vote, which means that if you have 10 votes, the 50% of 10 is 5 and plus 1, which is 6. So there is no concept that if you have to establish a government, you have to get 50% plus votes. For example, candidate A, which has received 4 votes, will still be elected because there was no concept of majority. It only means that whoever gets the highest number of votes will be elected. The disadvantage of this problem, of this system, is that the minority opinions are not representative. The problem here is that the minority opinions, for example, the candidates which got some votes, for example, candidate B, candidate C, candidate D, who also got some votes, their opinions are not represented here. Okay, so minority opinions may not get representation. This is a drawback, this is a disadvantage of the first past the post system. But what do we see? We see that we have a clear winner, we have a clear government, we have less complex system here, we have a stable government here. Okay. So, winning candidate does not need to secure majority of 50% plus votes, also called as plurality system. The candidates with the highest number of votes wins. Okay. Coming on to the next election system that we have, which is proportional representation system. What does it mean? The next system is proportional representation system. The proportional representation system is taken by Israel. It is prevalent in Israel and Netherlands. So, in this system, we imagine the whole country as one constituency, okay, and also we do not elect a single candidate here, we elect a political party. So, the problem of minority opinions which may not get representation, the problem of minority opinions which might not get representation in the government is solved here. So, here we see that if a party gets 40% of the seats out of 100 total seats, then by the proportion of the seats that proportion of the votes that a candidate has got, he'll get the seats accordingly. For example, if a person got 40% of the votes, he will get 40% of the seat, 40 seats in the legislature. Okay. For example, we have total number of 100 seats. We have total number of 100 seats. So, if a party got 40% of the votes, he will get 40 seats in the legislature. So, in proportional representation, there is a concept of majority. In proportional representation, if you want to establish the government, you need to have a majority of votes, which means 50% plus votes. So, when we see in India, we see that there is a little difficulty in little difficulty for the political parties to secure a 50% one criteria and to establish a government. So, what happens then in PR system, it does not secure a stable government in the country. So, what do we see here? That coalition might come here for achieving 50% plus votes. A coalition government have to be there because without that we cannot achieve the criteria of 50% plus votes. So, coalition government are made here, okay, they are commonly seen here, and because of the coalition government, as you know that coalition government does not ensure stable government. So, we can see that there are problems when we see in the stable government, there is no stable government, okay. There is no clear majority. As there is coalition, the calculation will be there. Majority of votes, we have to see which party got 50% plus votes. So, there is no single clear majority that we can figure out in FPTP. So, there is a little this is a little complex system as compared to the FPTP system. Okay. So, decision making in this election system is a little difficult as compared to our FPTP system. Okay. So, why India have adopted the FPTP system? India has also adopted PR system in some parts, but mainly the constitution has prescribed the FPTP system. So, why FPTP system? Because it is very simple and very easy to understand, and we are also familiar with it because it is a US concept. So, we are also familiar with it. Okay. Also, there is a clear result in the FPTP and clear winner is there. So, clear choice of voters is also there. We know the candidates and we can hold them accountable in case the aspirations, the goals are not fulfilled. So, we can hold the candidate accountable of the constituencies. Okay. We get a stable government because as there is not a criteria of majority government, So we get a stable government here. So these are the reasons why India adopted FPTP system. Next, we see that different democracies have adopted different electoral systems, election systems, that I told you that the different election systems are prevalent in the countries in the world, and the outcomes of the election systems can be influenced by their systems. Okay, for example, mixed systems are also there which combine the FPTP and PR systems together. So FPTP is used for Lok Sabha elections, legislative assemblies elections. Okay, so we see that they are prevalent here, and proportional representation system is prevalent when we have to elect the president, vice president, Rajya Sabha elections, and legislative council, Vidhan Parishad. Okay, so FPTP is used for Lok Sabha elections and state legislative assembly elections. Okay, MLAs, and proportional representation is for president, vice president, Rajya Sabha, and Vidhan Parishad. So this is the end of the video, and I'll continue with the rest of the part in the next video, and I'll see you